What is going on? Let's see this. That's a little bit better. Morning to everybody. Give everybody just a little bit. Oh, you're already in. What's up, guys? Appreciate everybody hopping in so quick. Cool. I'm not watching Twitter right now. So if there are, I know a lot of people hop on Twitter. So I'll pull it up really quick. If you're over there, cool. I won't be able to see the comments. We'll see. All right. But welcome. By the way, if you're new to this, every Monday, what we do, I trade for a living, and like every other job that you might have, every Monday, usually the team gets together and you have a weekly planning meeting. This is basically ours. So kind of approaching trading like a business, and we're going to go through what to watch out for, some of the big headlines this week, what happened over the weekend, some stuff that we might want to take a look at. If you guys have any tickers too, by the way, here, there's a chat is up. I see a bunch of guys already jumping in there, but I'll keep that up there. If you have tickers that you want to take a look at, let's go ahead and do that. Ooh, why is this not showing my screen? Oh, no. My screen is, let me do this. I'm going to close the screen. Try and do this one more time. Screen share. I'll just go entire screen. Share. Boom. All right. That works for me. Cool. If you don't, yeah, go ahead, use the chat if you want. We see everybody. What's up? You guys rock. Very cool. Sylvie, man, you've been around for a minute. JB's in. Got some new people showing up. Big fans. Awesome. Very cool. All right, I already got some requests. So Joseph's looking for, I got AMD, I got Netflix. That's a big one. And if you guys keep going, I see the comments, so we'll go ahead and we'll hit those later on towards the end. So I'm going to try and make this fast. But what I'd say right now is that before we get into this, what we need to know is that last week, you guys, was a massive, and I mean massive week. So do I expect an equally large move this week? No, I do not. We have a couple catalysts that we're going to get to, but just keep in mind that whenever we have an outsized move like we had last week, or in any underlying that you're trading, usually stocks, they do really one of two things. They're either running or they're resting. Clearly last week we ran quite a bit, and so it's due time that we should actually see a little bit of rest. I don't mean reverse. Usually it's like a big move and then it needs to take a breather. It might look like a little bit of a bounce in the opposite direction. Look at this guy. This is what I look like. Yes, this is what I look like. What's going on? I got all kinds of people hopping in. Very cool. Love to see all the new faces. But markets are either running or resting. We just came out of a huge run, and it is time that you should expect basically some resting action. Don't expect to see that kind of outsized moved all the time. It's just not how it works. And don't expect a V-shaped recovery either. That's also not how it works. So really quick, couple headlines. If you guys want to talk about anything too, we can grab some. But really, like over the weekend, there was a handful of stuff, things around real estate and real estate worries, bank downgrades. We're going to get into the yields because that's, to me, the yields, as in the bond yields, the long bond, or just yields in general. The yields are really driving this market right now. We're also going to see that in the dollar. So we're going to look at ticker DXY. That's the dollar index, the US dollar weighted across, I think it's like 6 or 7 of the largest global currencies. But really, again, as traders, we're just trying to follow the money, right? And right now, the dollar was, before a few weeks ago, the dollar was looking like it was ready to really just fall out of bed. But right now, the DXY is actually running. And so you can see that clearly, like, okay, where is the money going? It's going to cash. It's super weird, but cash. The bonds are falling off and you'll see the yields go up. Bonds are inverse to the yields. And again, it actually makes more sense to me just as an investor thinking about it. I can hold cash in my brokerage account and get paid a pretty decent, yield on it. And I don't have to go out and take the bond risk either. So I know a lot of people are thinking about, is TLT a good investment? If you don't get paid interest on your resting cash, on your idle cash, then yeah, sure, maybe. But right now it looks like it's coming down still. But if you do get paid interest on idle cash, then no, I don't really see a reason to grab into that right now. So SPX, look at this, SPX in the next hour. Ooh. I'm not a great scalper, I'll give you that. So what I'm going to do, we're going to take a look at like key trades, key things. I'm not so myopic in terms of like just here and now. It's more when I look for setups, my average gains are pretty high. They're like well over 100%. And I'm usually looking for weekly setups that I'll take my smaller piece in during the week. And so that's what I'm going to be focusing on. There was a couple things, rates still going. Mortgage rates hit 7.16%, highest since 2021. That's huge. We did get FOMC minutes released also last week. And then really the headlines for me was like, look, the Fed is really trying to push this agenda of rates are higher. You look, my dear cousin, you guys crack me up. Really, the Fed is trying to press this, rates will be higher for longer. I don't necessarily think that they're going to go higher, but they're going to stay high for longer than the market was expecting. And that's the correction that we're actually seeing, that we started to see last week. And so when we look at something like the Fed, the CBOE Fed funds, Fed futures watch, you'll see that, later on next year, probably like the first quarter of next year, the market was actually pricing in that rates might start to come down. That's being pushed out right now. And so that's really the adjustment that the market's going through right now. That said, I'm still a bull. I just think that we're clear. Well, I don't think we are clearly in a bit of a pullback right now. Am I looking to jump in with both hands on the first little dip that I see? No way. Right. So that's really where we are. I still feel like more downside to come, but can we bounce? Sure. Anyways, so there's that. I think, CBO estimates interest payments projected to be the fastest growing part of the federal budget over the next 30 years. So that's a huge deal, right? And that's going to come that's going to come really into effect. And we'll start to see some of that getting priced into the market as well. There was a couple, I guess, this Ares variant that's affecting like your Pfizer's, Moderna, Novavax. To me, we were looking at that headline last Monday. I guess there were a couple more articles out this weekend. So those stocks are pushing today. We'll see how long that lasts. But for right now, they're clearly going up. And then again, we will touch on the yields and the dollar index as well. So moving forward, we do have earnings. We have one of the biggest earnings this week. We have NVIDIA. That's going to be a market moving event for sure. I personally track the Dow 30 components. And so what you're seeing on the screen right now, can you see this, Mouse? You can. All right. So this is the last year. So the last 4 quarters of earnings, at like earnings results. And so 4 quarters ago, we had 28 beats, 2 misses. Right now we're sitting at 24 beats and 2 misses. And honestly, it was last quarter where the market was saying, oh, we had this huge earnings recession, and that the market was expecting that we would actually come in even worse. We track all of this, and we knew already that, look, we were coming in way better than what the market was expecting. So we were able to like front run that, I guess. We were to see that that was not going to be the case moving forward. Right now, I think that we are probably right around where we should be. So I don't know that the earnings recession kind of story is really going to be any major market moving stuff. It may start to fluctuate as people start talking about wages increasing, things like that. But, we got a couple numbers and we'll go through it later on in this deck as well. Cool. Zaz, you're hilarious. Right on. So today we do have a couple earnings. A lot of people probably watching Zoom tonight. That's tonight. I don't have a huge amount of watch, but I did want to say, okay, for sure, there are two companies that are reporting Wednesday night that will be market moving events. So obviously that's going to be NVIDIA. So that's coming into Thursday morning. And then Snowflake as well. So Snowflake is going to be, take a look at Datadog. That's similar, in a very similar space. So Datadog is actually decelerating from a like growth perspective. It's still growing, but the growth rate is significantly slower than it's been. But that said, Snowflake is the one that is best of breed in the space. I'd much rather Snowflake over Datadog, but you know, we'll see. So this thing will actually move IGV, the sector. NVIDIA obviously going to move SMH, the sector. So just be careful if you're in any other semis or software companies. I'm thinking CRM is probably one that it might move quite a bit as well. Is anything else going to be really market moving? I don't think, work data is decent. Into it, we could probably take a look at, but nothing that I'm like, like this is a screaming buy right now. Unlike Palo Alto last week, I'll be on Spaces with Wolf tonight, but that was my pick for the week last week on our Monday Spaces event, which, by the way, follow on Twitter. It's at Paper Gains Inc. We always do a Monday night like stock picking space. Is pretty cool. It's one of my favorites. So again, economic data recaps of last week, pretty slow for the most part. It was really the FOMC minutes release on, I believe it was Wednesday, that really kicked us off. But consumer inflation expectations pretty in line, slightly lower. Retail sales was the one that maybe got a lot of people kind of up in arms, but retail sales came in hotter than expected. So previous 0.3%. The consensus was 0.4%. And if you're new to trading or you're new to watching the markets, it doesn't matter what the difference is that a number's coming. This goes for earnings too. Like the current number versus the prior number doesn't matter. That's not that's never going to move a market. The only thing that will move a market and the one thing that will always move a market is what the number comes in compared to what we call like the street or the consensus number. So consensus was 0.4%. We actually came in at 0.7. That was a big number. If you're thinking about like, why does this matter? When we're talking about inflation and inflation being sticky and rates being higher for longer, the reason is this, right? So retail sales, if you go back to your, macro econ class, retail sales, and you think of supply and demand, retail sales is your demand. So if people are still buying, like my supply is staying the same, maybe getting a little bit lower, right? Like if this LA hurricane actually impacts any supply chain stuff, but supply chain is just barely getting back to normal, but retail, but the demand is actually creeping up. Same thing with building permits and housing starts. So these are in the housing market, little bit higher than prior, but just slightly in line. This is slightly higher. This is slightly lower. So it's kind of a nothing burger. Honestly, housing numbers really not making a big difference at all in the market right now. And jobless claims coming in right at consensus. I don't think jobless claims won't really be an impact on the market unless we get to like 275,000, maybe 300,000 jobless claims. That's when that will really start to impact the markets. But that said, moving forward, we have nothing burger today, nothing burger tomorrow. And then we kick off this event called Jackson Hole. And so Jackson Hole is one of the largest events every year. It's a 3-day event. But this time, Powell's actually not scheduled to speak until Friday. So the event's going to be going on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. There'll be all kinds of speakers like throughout the days on all of those days, and then kind of tying it off with Powell's big speech at the very end. And in between all that, we're going to get NVIDIA. So all that to say, I think it's going to be a freaking crazy chop fest. That's what I can pretty much guarantee. So do I think that we're going to have anything major? Probably not until the back half of the week, as the speeches kick off for Jackson Hole. We might get a little really choppy, and that's what I'm kind of thinking. So Monday, Tuesday, it's going to be pretty quiet. Might see some short covering coming into the event, and then we'll see, right? So maybe NVIDIA runs up. This one is definitely, I know that the market is just holding their breath, really just waiting to see if NVIDIA can save everybody. But that's what I have for right now. I'm just going to do a quick check on the markets before we hop into some specific stuff. So here's where we are on SPY. So, two things. So I mentioned looking at, let me just clean this up a little bit. We usually get you some targets for the week as well. So I mentioned looking at the bonds and the dollar. So DXY here, this is the dollar, Dixie. We call it the Dixie. And this guy, again, if you look at, I'm going to pull this back to a daily just for a quick shot. It's been falling off, right? It started to bounce a little bit. And here's the issue. It's reclaimed its 200-day. I don't think that anybody, that's the red line here. I don't think anybody really thought it was going to get this high. I had like 102.50. But with the yield situation going on, that's actually driving this quite a bit. And so if the dollar starts to like crank higher to the upside, that's a warning sign. And you should kind of look for that as your confluence. It's going to be the dollar and it's going to be yields. That the two things, like if the dollar is going higher and bonds are going lower or the yields are going higher, then you want to be like, okay, pump the brakes, little warning sign. That's not good for the markets right now. That's essentially what you're seeing when that happens, is people legitimately running to cash. So just as an aside, TLT short has been like one of the biggest trades that people are talking about. Here's what we're looking at. I'm going to move this to a weekly. We are basically at the lows, just slightly. Yeah, we're at this like critical juncture right here. So if the yields, this is TLT, the bond, which is inverse to the yield. If this really starts to break, I mean, we are definitely closer to the end, but it's more like that adjustment that the market's having to make. I'm not taking any shots to the long side on this. Like I said, I mean, the Fed has been pretty clear that they're not expecting to lower rates anytime like in the foreseeable future. They're probably going to say data dependent, I don't know how many times, and just kind of drive that messaging home that, you know, it's not like they're planning to lower rates like in the first quarter of next year. They might even try to push it out even further than that. But that's going to be the point where when this really falls off, the stock market's probably going to take a pretty big hit. But I am looking probably late next month to really start repositioning to the long side. So just keep those in mind. That's what's going on. The dollar starts going up, TLT breaking levels to the downside, then we're probably in trouble across the board for the market. I'm going to take this. I have all of these rays here. So if you don't know or you don't remember, really what I use for a lot of my kind of directional cues is NFP levels. And so this right here, this was August NFP. Where's my August NFP high? I need to go to these globally synced ones. There it is. All right, so I'm just going to show you how this works really quick. So intraday, here was not last Friday, the Friday before, the first Friday of every month, we get something called non-farm payrolls. And so what I'm going to do every first Friday of the month is I actually just mark the high and the low of that day's candle. And so for the month of August, if we're going to be trading above, that's 452.91, then I know definitively we're in an uptrend. To me, this is a fundamental event that actually creates a technical level. It's, I mean, super clean, works like 100% of the time. But the second, so this was our first warning here this day where we're like, we're really trading below this, still fighting. But the second we got that large move with outsized volume, and then the next day here, this is a clean, like, okay, we're not going higher. We're definitively going lower. And the targets become those next NFP levels. And so it's funny is like, this is July. This might be June. This might have gotten out of whack. But so this is July here. NFP high, right? And then NFP low. This became my next target. And this became the target after that. Right now, honestly, all we're doing is we're just retesting that level. And then if we continue down to the downside, unfortunately, this is the next fundamental kind of level that I have. That's 428 and then 422. We'll see. For right now, I'm just looking at this and like, okay, this white line uptrend is we were kind of riding this, clearly broken. technically, and then we're back into this descending kind of wedge right now, which, after this kind of outside move, it makes sense to see this kind of coming back in this. I could actually even see us retesting all the way up there and then start to trade in this kind of channel. That would make perfect sense. Unfortunately, that's not a lot of fun trading. Just going to be real with you. But that's really what it's looking like right now. So those are the levels I have. The orange boxes, by the way, this is an average week's move. So what I'll do, this one, honestly, I just think it's going to be a less of a full size week. So I would just take the top of this channel and probably this 441. If I get a shot at the 442 and change, like for sure, I don't see us going higher than that. But right now, 438.30, this July NFP level, that July NFP low, that fundamental event is clearly acting as current resistance. So I can't really be thinking longs unless we're well above that. And even then, it's just really shooting towards the upper end of this downward wedge. But anyways, and that's just, if we do fully flush to the downside, close to that 429 right here, just above that June NFP high, that would be an average week's range. If we get that, it's probably not going to be till like way later in the week. And then again, an outsized pop. I would just be really careful. Like maybe you could trade this, but here's what I'd say is every time we get those kind of moves, especially if it's the first one, you get a lot of fake out kind of breakouts from this type of setup. So this would be a fake break. I'm not even going to be thinking about going long on something like that. Like it's maybe down here, but it's so tough. Usually we'll get a move that looks like this. And then to me, this is actually a short back to the top of this. And then if we do bounce up off that, this is going to be my long here. It's not the breakout from here. It's not the breakout. I mean, it would be a break from here to here, and that's really it. But this kind of, we have to break structure first, meaning make a new high, and then put in a higher low. And where that higher low would be, it would probably be right about 440, if that were to be the case. Not holding my breath. Cool. JB is asking here, can you type NFP level in the chat? Oh, type it. Yeah. So which one are you looking for? So July NFP, I'll put in the chat here. July NFP low is 438.30, right? June NFP high is 428.74. Yeah, this might be a little hard to see. And then June NFP low 422.47. Yeah, apologies. I know this can get really funky to see on some of these trading view. Hopefully this is that a little bit better. These white numbers here. So 422.47, 428.74, etc. All right. So that's what I have. That's like the main stuff that I wanted you guys to take a look at. Qs, I think, wow, this is so large on my screen. Qs has been pretty much at the low end target. Yeah, we're way, it's tough, right? So this is the same kind of setup, right? We're just kind of bouncing. I'll just say, if I take this average week's range, this one was the first, by the way, to crack this NFP level. So remember, this was the August. Look at this. Way before any of the rest of them, this one was screaming at you. Look, it was down, 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 retest, complete fail right here. We're not even close to this. I have to go back and like reset them or find them again. They don't think it's on this chart. Probably a different one. But anyways, yeah, that one was the first to give you like, oh, we're definitely not going up. If we do go down, 345, 347 would be an average week's range. And then to the upside, 375, 374 would be an average week's range. But I think we kind of like chop right inside of an average week's range this week. Diamond's having the tough time. Yeah, this is ugly. Ooh, this is a really ugly setup for DIA, technically. Let's do this. So I don't get too bogged down in charts. Another thing too, by the way, crude, I do have this on watch. I know a lot of the guys, oil's been on a bit of a rampage recently. I will say it just ran into this overhead resistance, failing and pulling back. So to me, this looks like, again, another one that had a big move, probably time for a rest period here. So that's what this is setting up. It did break structure, but again, I got to wait and lock in a higher low. Maybe we'll see. I don't see it just yet. Either I get a higher high and I trade there, or I get a higher low somewhere above this red line, somewhere above like 77. And I'll be a bit more interested. IWM, just dumpy. You got two lines of defense here on IWM. We'll see. All right, let's get back to the charts though. So I know that you guys had AMD. Cool. So AMD, this is actually how I do it. So I'm going to I have a different setup here for my kind of like analysis chart. So if you're in the server, you might have actually seen some of our prep last week or this weekend, over the weekend. Moderna, over the weekend. It's the 21st of August right now, which means that the month is almost over, obviously, right? But what I want to do when we're at that kind of spot is I actually want to take a look at the monthly candles and see how are these really starting to print. And so for now, I can just take this kind of like low to high, and I'll say, okay, this is actually a pretty good retracement on AMD. Right now, this is going to be all about NVIDIA. I'll just say that right now. So longs are at the spot where, okay, they might be really interested on going long something like AMD. Here's the weekly chart. So we do have this little consolidation, like a weekly flag. It's not breaking just yet. Break a structure here is going to be like 102 and change. You did break this prior structure already. So what I would say, this is at 108.23. So over 108.23, it looks like you're going to be breaking to the upside of that little, call it a flag on the weekly, if you will. You have a little confluence, kind of this defensive prior support here. Yeah, you're battling this $100 psychological level. It's not going up right now. This is definitively going to be determined by NVIDIA. That's all I can say. But yeah, for right now, you're just going to like run into this prior support, which is likely going to be an SR flip. But I don't know that really falls out, just because, again, huge 3-day drop. You're getting this bounce. Let's just take this from this swing high to swing low. That's going to put, can you see these numbers? Probably not yet. So I'm taking from this swing high to this swing low. It's giving me a 618 retrace right about 109, just under 109, which is also this, by the way, I use as this is last month's low. So that's an automated line. So this is last month's low. I mean, that's the bears are going to come in basically right in here, slightly higher. So that's how it's turning out for me right now. It just looks like Monday, Tuesday, probably a little bouncy, maybe flat tomorrow. We'll see. And then the fireworks really start on Wednesday. And this is just a 30-minute chart. You'll see it just a little bit more clearly. Same kind of lines. Again, it's just automated. That's that 108, 108.54. You're essentially filling a fair value gap from Thursday right now here. And this prior like support level. So it's tough to be taking like trades on breaks of resistance when the market's kind of chopping down. So I would be super cautious unless you're thinking kind of investment setup there. But yeah, if Nvidia is going, that'll probably go. That's what I'll say. So Netflix was probably like, this is a big focus trade for me this week. So again, Netflix monthly kind of looks like death. So we had this prior uptrend here. This is, I'll zoom in a little bit, but that's broken. We're using, for the most part, a 2 to 3 candlestick setup. So 1, 2, 3 candlesticks. This is on a monthly perspective time frame. Anything under 400, like next month, this is going down, and it's going down in a like probably large way. Some of my oscillators here are telling me, hey, really careful. And then here we are on the weekly. So last week's low is 398.15, and that's really the clean trigger. We don't have a low right now. This purple line is a 200 week moving average. So it's set to the week, 200 week. That's a pretty heavy like institutional level. I'd say we might come up and retest that. And that's that prior break of structure right around 412. I took a small shot on this today just because it looked pretty weak. I had to end up closing it just a little bit ago before I got on here because it's obviously not going down just yet. If it can't break down below this level, what do we know? We know that it has to come back up to get more sellers at the very least. So couple things, this chart has all kinds of lines. So this is a circle on the 20-day and 50-day moving averages crossing. Again, those are locked on the daily. To me, this is just a pretty clear, nasty head and shoulders, however you want to draw it. And then again, this white line, this is daily. This is that prior uptrend, broke, retested, and fail. So now I'm just looking for this next retest of this to fail. And so this is, by the way, this is the same thing. If this was inversed, if I just did Alt-I, if this was an uptrend, we were just talking about, I don't take the first break up out of a broken trend line. I wait for it to come back and retest the top of that trend line and then go long. So that's how these work, right? That's how all the trend lines work. Usually the first one for me just happens to be a short. All I did was inverse that chart. But same thing. So that was the first short here, 415. Now we're looking at the next phase. This is one of those patterns where it might be too obvious of a head and shoulders. So a little cautious there, but again, looking for this, I'll zoom in here. So multiple time frame analysis, right? That's how I usually do it. This is this morning's kind of range. This is Friday's high, right? 40, what is this? 406.90. So over 406.90, if I get a daily close above that, then I definitely think that, hey, we might be going higher, at least to test this 200 week moving average at 412. I'm open to the possibility of going long if it does hold and bounce up above, and that would look like this, maybe to 423. But that's not the big trade for me. The big one would be this downside break. And again, if you look at this thing, that's a big, this is not an earnings gap right here. This is a huge fair value gap. We're going from this kind of like volume shelf. So first shelf here at this short down to this shelf here. This is a small shelf. It's not super strong. So if this thing breaks, and it'll break below 398, like a daily close below, whereas the next one, 366. That's going to be a big move. And then the 200-day comes into play. I think that defends, but just keep that in mind. That's going to be a massive, massive trade. If and when it comes, it's either going to be on a fail below 398, like daily close below, or a fail around 412, and then that first target actually becomes that 398. Right now, we're looking at a higher low, so it's not ready to go just yet. Just one to watch. Cool. Regeneron. So what I'll say about these is the sector, they had news. This is a news thing. So I'm not super into biotechs, to be fair. I'm not going to be a good one. I think you have to do like your fundamental stuff on this guy to really figure out where this is going. they'll have this type of move all the time. The chart looks great. Chart looks like a breakout. I know for sure that was news driven though. Yeah, I'm trying to see where's. When I go. Yeah, Mojo back. I don't know. There it is. So FDA approves Regeneron's drug for ultra rare immune disorder. Yeah, that's your catalyst. So they just recently had an FDA approval. So you have to kind of factor what would that net them in terms of revenue, and is this recent move like deserved, or is it too much, or is it not enough? It's a little tougher there. Cool. IBM. Oh, and Motion's got Oxy. So I got couple quick ones, and then we'll hit this. I can't do SPX for the next hour. If you're in the servers, I will hit that with you. IBM monthly chart first, right? Remember, it's towards the end of the month. I want to look at the monthly. How's this monthly chart looking? It doesn't look good, right? This is at the very top of, for me, a very well-defined trading range. That range is from like 145 to 130, give or take. I have a 200 week at 128, and I have a 200 day at 135. So for me, on a monthly, this looks like it wants to print short. It did just have earnings not too long ago. And I know some people are like, oh, it's good earnings. I know tech. This isn't my space. Sorry. Maybe the market sentiment does say that they had good earnings, but yeah, I'm not in for it. So anyways, what I'm looking at, this is on a weekly perspective. I can take this level back and see this line right here, 142.20. That's the break in structure here. So 2 to 3 candlestick setup, 1, 2, 3. It's a short. Now we're getting a retest. It's going to be probably an inside day for now, but I'm looking for this 142.20 level to actually fail. And I started positioning now. So your stop has to be hard stop 143.32, depending on your time frame. So timing is more important than direction here, by the way. And so we're coming up and we're retesting that level right now. So on the daily, that's where we're coming. I'm starting position short kind of already, but very, very small. So the market's kind of going up. If the market turns around, that's going to be like definitely time to go. And that's I can draw it, but it would be a couple different ways. You could see it. This is left shoulder, head, right shoulder, fail, left shoulder, head, and then maybe right shoulder over here, however you want to look at it. But what's for sure is that this 30-minute candle right now coming up to this fair value gap, which was actually, I had it on a 15-minute fair value right here, filling right there. So to me, I think this is ready to roll. So I think it's ready to roll. We'll see. These candles are getting smaller. That means that this wind is getting exhausted. This would be the perfect exact spot for a lower high. Obviously, if it breaks structure to the upside, cool. Well, it trades over, invalidated, and we're going up. But we rejected the 20-day. Where's the 50-day? 50 days down here, 137.90. I'm just fundamentally bearish on this company, so I'm probably a little bit biased, but that's how I see this one. Cool. And then Motion. What's up, man? Max. I've just typed Motion. Last one, I'll do Oxy. So this is going to be oil too. So definitely oil is going to be a catalyst. I think we just remember first breakout, right? This is where Buffett's buying right here below 60. He's had a good run so far. You run into the 200-day on the monthly. Let me just sync this really quick. Weekly check. Yeah, you have a 200-day, a 20-week, and a 20-day. All moving averages like really getting really tight, squeezy here. I don't think just yet, but when this decides to go on the next one, it's going to be a big move on the next move. And does look like to the upside. But again, if we wanted to take that same kind of logic, if this goes up and then wicks down, I'd want to see a higher low somewhere around here. And this, by the way, this is a bit of a broadening formation here. We're not broadening, sorry. I had this trend line from prior. So this would be target 73 on the next one. This is like a month or two out. That's a long, not ready to row, not ready to go yet. For now, you're kind of in this channel. Here's the channel, right? So you don't want to see it fall out of the channel. This would be that kind of area of defense. Usually, so Wednesday, you get oil status reports. So Wednesdays are a catalyst for oil companies, like every Wednesday. This is this week. So Wednesday morning, right here, this is Pacific. So 7:30 Pacific, I think usually like 8:30 Pacific. So just after 12 Eastern, or just around 12 Eastern, you get an oil status report every single week. That's going to tell you like, where's the SPR? Like, are they refilling? Are they depleting? This oil status report is always a catalyst for your Oxys, your Exxons. A couple of guys were asking about Exxon too. Super similar. Yeah, just not ready. Keep an eye on crude. I think that one is just big move on crude. That needs to breathe. It looks like it wants it, and it's setting up. I just don't have it. I just don't have it yet. This looks like this is dealing with a 200-day, that red line. Sorry for all these lines and stuff on the chart. It's a little ugly. If Exxon is going to have a line of defense, it's going to be right here. 107, 108, give or take. This order block right here. Here, 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 here. So I would watch this. That's probably going to line up to your 20-day. Just under 108 might be a decent spot. You probably even pick this specific 107.75 order block to watch. I'll set an alert there, because you do have a very clean fair value gap to the upside at 110, just for a quick trade. Range bound trade, not a breakout trade. Yeah, speaking of range bound stuff, I just feel like this week, if you're into selling options, this is probably a really good one. Probably a really good one to take a look at. Oh, motion. You know what? You got a bunch in there. HT, I haven't looked at. Datadog, I'm going to skip because we have Snowflake coming. It's going to be too dependent on Snowflake. I'll give you one. So Nike, you tell me. Long or short? Here's the monthly. So Nike, remember we got that retail sales that came out just recently. This thing is screaming short to me still. Again, whatever you want to call it, squeeze in on the monthly to the downside. A lot of China exposure. Remember that China recovery was definitely done like a big deal. Probably a little overestimated. This is the weekly. If we get a close below this 103, it's no good. That's all I'll say. You're welcome. But we are basically, we just broke it. So this is like major line of defense quickly to 99 and change. Super short dated, $100 puts. Looking good with any close below. Look at this. With any close below 104. Oof. There's a trade for you. Yeah, I feel like that's more layup for you. Anyways, HD, I believe they just reported, probably double beat and skeet. What else do you have to look forward to? I'm not sure. Yeah, these companies, Home Depot, Lowe's, summer is like their like retail, by the way. Christmas time, you have Black Friday. That's when the retail stores do really well. Stocks. Home Depot is like the opposite, because their big season is summer, like gardening and things like that. So monthly, looking like it's going to try and defend. I don't know about this month. Quick little bounce. Weekly, you have a candlestick set up for sure. 324.63. Starting to squeeze down. I don't have a close below, but it is definitely below the 20-day. The only thing here is it could bounce up to 328 or even fill this fair value to 331, which would be an even better short entry. So you got to be kind of careful. This is why it's always multi time frame analysis. Yeah, here's that level. So you'll see it pretty quickly, like a close below 323.30, or if it's intraday, let's say like 45-minute, two or three 15-minute candles, like fully opened and closed below that 323.30. Yeah, you should look for that 50-day at 316. So good call. It's like a nice $5-6+ move possible on this, but wait for it to break. Choppy week, man. Oh, you guys are just throwing them out. I'm gonna call it there. We got more in the service. You can always next up 85. Oh, is that for Oxy? Too funny. That coin chart. KP. I'll look at. I'll show you coin. Just then, this is definitely the last one. So coin is like I took a small shot on coin today. I took a small L. It might actually be a W. I don't know. Crypto's in a very interesting level also. This monthly candle fully down there. And check this, like how important this order block is, where it's landing. Look at that, to the penny. I mean, like right on there. Is that trade up right now? I don't even want to look right now. If it is, great, right? All good. But I was looking at like $80 calls, and so we just hit the 618 retrace on. This is from this swing low to swing high here. 618 is where we opened this morning. Looks like we're challenging a break of structure. Matt, don't look at that. Thanks, you guys. Y'all rock. No, it's all good. It was a starter. It's Monday. I don't put a whole lot of credence on Monday. You guys suck. You guys suck. Whatever. Anyways, let me just show you. Here's what it was. So we are definitively in a channel down on coin, right? And this is what I had lined up. The reason I was targeting 80 is because I'm just targeting the top of this channel right now. That's target, right? That was target. I don't want to really go long until we break fully out of the channel and lock in a higher low. Then I'm really long, right? And then I'm looking for this kind of stuff. So that line is going to be 81, give or take. Oh man, it's all good. You know what, Patrick? If we miss things all the time, but look, if this really goes, we're not missing anything, right? Because why? This is just the very beginning. If it does, right? So I mean, clean squeezy to the upside, possible. I have to worry about this, right? So this last prior line of defense, 77 and change, but this is one of those things where like it looks real squeezy. Look at that. Do I just miss a headline? I don't know. You guys killing me. So if we get a retest, all right, I'll be back in. But that's why I was in this trade this morning, why it was like such a huge like watch, at least that. And I was also Tesla long was my first one. The target on Tesla for the week, by the way, was 235. If we get a full bounce. I think that was kind of the easy layup. Yeah. Here's the Tesla. So again, this was such a huge, massive fallout from before. Remember that Netflix chart when I said 20-day crossing below the 50? That was Tesla like a week and a half ago. This is why Netflix today was is this week a focus. But yeah, it could all the way up to 430 and change to fill this fair value gap. But right now we have this one 230 to deal with first. It's Tesla. You can blink and it's flying. But I wasn't interested really taking major short side on Tesla because I rode this entire thing pretty heavily and milked the crap out of it. So the first bounce like this, again, not a V-shaped recovery. I can easily see this stalling out right around 230, 235. I don't see it getting over 240. We're not going back to 300 just yet. No way. So give that a bit. Long term, by the way, do you guys have this? Just so you know why it was that important. So high to low, swing low to swing high, 50% level, 225. That's going to be our key pivot. 618 was at 208. It's going to line up with 2 points of confluence here. This prior support, prior resistance, breakdown level, key pivot. Why is that going to bounce right there? Yeah, that's why. That's why I was thinking long and at least be done with the shorts because I don't want to take this short any lower unless we're significantly lower. Similar to Meta right now. We just milked the crap out of Meta last week. You guys. All right. That's it for me. Appreciate you guys jumping in. It's always fun. And I will see you on the next one. Adios.